I am Rhonda. I do the school outreach for Chittenden Solid Waste District. So these kids in the school system, they might know me as Recycle Rhonda. I am joined by my fantastical coworker, Ethan. Go ahead and introduce yourself, my friend. Oh, we can't hear you. You're on mute.
I am off to a great start as business outreach coordinator for CSWD. My name is Ethan Hausman.
All right, I think we're ready to rock and roll. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go through some slides. Again, feel free to throw in the Q&A, any questions that you have along the way. It's kind of going to be an overview of CSWD, who we are, and then kind of the different facilities that that we operate or own, and where your stuff goes, what kind of streams of solid waste do we have to deal with, and then we'll wrap up the night with a little action plan of how we as a community can be better planet protectors, be better stewards of this awesome earth, and be practicing reducing, reusing, and then recycling. So without further ado, hold on to your hat, because here we go. All right, so I'm good, Ethan, yeah?
You're good. You're
okay,
good.
I was like, I'm just going to take your silence as a yes. Again, we are from Chittenden Solid Waste District. Basically, we are a municipal entity that tries to find fun and fantastical things to do with all of the stuff that we in Chittenden County no longer want or need. As a matter of fact, here is from our annual report a little snapshot of how we all did here in Chittenden County for 2021. What you're seeing here is on the left-hand side is 57% of everything that we generated actually was diverted, whether it was composted or recycled in one way, shape, or form. 43% went to the landfill. I think that's a pretty good diversion rate. We can do better, and I will we'll get to that in a hot moment, a few slides down the road here. But this is available for public view, and I did not include that in your follow-up email, but I'll throw it in there as a link to check out our annual report if you want to check it out. It's a little more detailed than just this graph. All right, so some other things that we do here at CSWD is our outreach team is fantastical, and we offer free outreach to the entire county, our county community, if you will, whether that's at home or at events, at work. Ethan can help you at your businesses or your place of work, and I can help you out at school, whether it's pre-K. I've taught kids as young as 2 years old, which is crazy town, and quite a challenge for a high school teacher. That's what I was trained in, all the way up to, grad students, PhD students. So we love our jobs, and we are definitely want to get out there and help you guys do a better job no matter where you're at. So get in touch, and our contact information will be at the end. All right, so you may think of CSWD as managing trash, recycling, and food scraps. What we hear about the most, and by golly, we do manage it. So last year we composted 12 million pounds of food scraps alone. We sorted through 94 million pounds of mixed recycling, and we sent 232 million pounds of trash to the landfill. All right, but CSWD manages more than that, guys. We manage special recycling. We manage hazardous waste and leaf and yard trimmings, just to mention a few things. So before we actually jump into where, what all the stuff is and where it all goes, I do want to put out a reminder because, well, I wouldn't be Recycle Rhonda unless I reminded you how to be better planet protectors by remembering that all of the stuff that we buy has to come from somewhere. It comes from natural resources, whether that's renewable natural resources like farms, like our food from farmers, or paper, or other things too made out of wood, but from tree plantations down to non-renewable resources to make our plastics safe from oil, or all of those fantastic electronic gadgets that take up our, earth metals, rare earth metals in mining. So just not to make you feel bad, but just to put a little nudge in your head the next time you're out shopping around, ask yourself, do I really need this, or is it I just want it, or maybe I can borrow it? But we'll get to that when we get to the action plan at the later half. All right, so where does all of this stuff that we generate need to get rid of go? CSWD has 4 different types of facilities that we own. Drop-off centers, you might be familiar with those. We have 6 drop-off centers, which do accept most materials. Most of the things you want to get rid of, except for Burlington. Burlington Drop-Off Center only accepts food scraps. You can check that out on our website. We have the Environmental Depot, where all household hazardous waste goes to then find a different home or sometimes recycled. Materials recovery facility, CSWD owns the building or owns the facility, and in a partnership with Casella, the Casella operates it, and so they run the day-to-day operations at our materials recovery facility, where all your blue bin stuff goes to get sorted out. And then finally, Green Mountain Compost, where your food scraps and other organic matter like leaves and yard trimmings come to get made into fantastical soil. So without further ado, we're going to jump right on in. All right, we're going to go take a trip to see where does our trash go. First off, trash comes in many shapes and sizes. We do generate a fair amount. I don't want anybody to feel badly about generating trash because we are going to do it. I know some people that are like zero waste or have like a mason jar of trash every year. No matter how much I try, I haven't gotten to that point yet. But it doesn't stop me from trying anyway. So trash comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes. One of the major confusions too is these like your milk cartons, your ice cream cartons, all of those like Tetra Pak things that the gravy and stock comes in. All that stuff is trash, all right? And we'll get into that a little bit slightly in the recycling part. But we do have webinars based solely on recycling, so you can determine what does go into the bin and what has to go to the landfill. Speaking of which, just a hot question. I'm going to throw up a poll here for you guys to take. I would like to know, oh, holy bananas, that's why it was messed up earlier, Ethan. All right, here we go. I would like to know how many landfills you think Vermont has, active landfills that are used in Vermont. All right, so I'm going to end the poll. It's okay if you did not vote. I'm going to share the results. So 90% of you got it correct with 1. All right, we got numero uno, landfills, active landfills. We got a lot of closed landfills in Vermont, but we got 1 where all of our trash goes to. So that is why it's really important, guys, that we sort it out correctly, that we figure out where our stuff goes and try to reduce the amount of trash that we send to that 1 landfill, because we'll have to find a new space once we run out of space there. And Casella runs and owns and operates that landfill, and it's all the way up into Coventry, Vermont. So up by Lake Memphremagog. So this is a pie chart of everything that we in Chittenden County sent to the landfill in 2021. All right, as you can see, over half of it was actual trash, but 45% of it is actually things that can be recycled in one way, shape, or form, whether it's composting or special recycling or right in your blue bin. So we have a little work to do, but after tonight, I'm counting on you. We are all counting on you guys to help out and spread the word of, where this stuff goes, and that we really need to be more vigilant on sorting it out. But I have to say, we're doing a pretty darn good job. So thank you guys. All right, landfill. This is what a typical landfill looks like. This system is not intended to decompose anything. This is just containment. It is a safe way to contain all of the trash that we generate. Basically, it's 8.5, each cell or each hole is about 8.5 acres, 150 feet deep. Throw all the trash in, we pile it another 100 feet high. There's some plastic on the top, protect it from leaching out everywhere into the environment, and throw some dirt on it and plant some grass and forget that we just filled the earth with all of our trash. Again, we can reduce the amount that we send there. I don't want you to feel badly. We are going to create trash. We just don't have to create as much. Now, as this slide says, it is not intended for decomposition. As a matter of fact, check out these. I'm going to give you a hot 3 seconds to look at this slide. Determine what you think those are. All right. Time's up. All right. So these are actually carrots that were pulled out of a landfill. These carrots had been in the landfill for 10 years. Count them, 10 years in the landfill. And they still look like carrots. Yeah, they're a little black on the outside, but they're orange on the inside. They're shaped like the carrots. You can even see the ridges and grooves in them. That is because, again, there's no oxygen in that landfill. When we throw organic matter, whether that's paper, food, paper towels, even cotton clothing, it breaks down very, very slowly. And the only thing it's creating is a whole lot of water and methane gas. The methane gas is a much more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. So that is why composting is beautiful. So I am a scientist by training, so I did my own little experiment in a backyard compost bin in a mesh like laundry bag. So I put 4 carrots in there, went out, weighed them every single week and took pictures of them. At one point it did get kind of gross because it got really slimy, but you can see in 9 weeks, which was surprising to me, in 9 weeks, those carrots had disappeared and I was left with beautiful compost that then can be used to nourish the garden, and that will nourish your bellies, or somebody's belly at least. So 9 weeks, something usable and delicious, at least for the plants, or 10 plus years. I mean, those carrots are going to take forever to actually like break down in the landfill, and all we're getting is a whole lot of trash juice that we have to pump off and treat, and methane gas. So your choice, but that is why we do have a food scrap law here in Vermont, so that everybody needs to keep food scraps out of the trash. Here in Chittenden County, fairly easy-ish. I think it's pretty easy actually, because we have Green Mountain Compost, and that's CSWD's compost facility in Williston. Last year, we received about 28 million pounds of organics. That can be food scraps, leaf and yard trimming, and even the natural wood that you guys drop off at the drop-off centers gets chipped up and used in our compost process. Woohoo! So there were some changes this year to our acceptance policy at Green Mountain Compost. So starting in January of this year, we no longer accept compostable foodware. So that would be like pizza boxes or paper plates, anything that says compostable on it. It's not that it's not compostable, but it brings in a lot of trash because some people don't know the difference between real plastic and compostable plastic. It's hard for people on the user end to determine. Also hard when we're looking at all of this food scraps, and all this stuff is covered with food scraps. What's real plastic, what's not real plastic, what's coated paper, what's uncoated paper. Also some paper, some cardboard is treated with polyfluorinated compounds, and those are forever chemicals, and they kind of make, well, not kind of, they make it through the compost process. So we don't want, we tried to do education-wise, but we decided this year that we needed to not accept that stuff. So what we will accept is food scraps, paper towels, and napkins on the basic. You can continue to use your compostable bag liners, so those bags that say 100% compostable, certified compostable, you can continue to use those, or line your compost bin or compost collection bucket or whatever you're using with paper. You do want to check with your hauler, because sometimes some haulers will continue to accept compostable stuff if it's not coming to our compost facility, but do know if it is coming to Green Mountain Compost, that is not accepted anymore. And of course, as we'll learn later, reusables are much more important than disposables anyway. So if we're here to like be better stewards of the earth and better planet protectors, then reusables are the way to go. Sometimes you can't avoid it though. All right, so question for you guys. How do you keep food scraps out of the landfill? When upon registering, some people had questions. How do you reduce, reuse, and recycle? A lot of people talked about composting of food scraps. So if you want to throw that in the chat, just pop in there how you keep food scraps out of the landfill. We would love to know. I will share that I worm compost. I am known as the worm whisperer. Love my worms. They compost a lot fast, and I keep them in my house. They're fantastic. Love it. Would recommend it for everybody. I also do some outdoor composting. I actually maintain our demo bin or demo area at Green Mountain Compost with the food scraps that my worms won't eat. Some people feed their chickens. Some people drop it off at our drop-off center. Some people use the green cone digester. Many different ways to keep food out of the landfill. I'd love to know any ways that you do. Ethan, is there any ways that anybody?
There are. People are saying that some people have pickup service. So those are the folks for whom this our change around compostable ware might be most relevant.
Yeah.
People are mentioning home composting, and at least one person has mentioned their chickens, feeding their chickens, which is certainly that's a nice way to go with your food scraps if you have chickens.
That is true. All right. So moving on to what's usually a hot topic, and it definitely was a hot topic on what do you guys want to learn. So some people wanted to learn a little bit more about recycling. This is going to be a brief overview. We do have a webinar coming up on February 23rd, Recycling Right with Robin Orr. So she can take you down the rabbit hole of recyclability in that webinar. We're just kind of going to do a quick touch on what where your recycling goes and what can basically go into the bin, some rules and drivers for recycling. But you have questions, throw them up into the Q&A or the chat. I guess do the Q&A for questions. So do that. If you do have questions, there was somebody wanted a little bit more specifics about what to put in the recycling and compost and more knowledge on recycling. If you want to go deeper in, again, I will send with your follow-up email on Thursday that you should be getting that on Thursday around 6 p.m. on Thursday. There will be a link to where to sign up for that webinar and other ones that we have too. Woo. All right, so your blue bin recyclables all come to our material recovery facility. We call it the MRF as a short way of having to say those three words. So all of your blue bin stuff comes there to get sorted out and then sold to the market where it then will be recycled. Last year, we processed 94 million pounds of mixed blue bin recyclables. Woo! All right. Again, Casella operates the MRF, and CSWD, we own it. So those guys were sorting hardcore. This facility was built to process about half of that. So you will notice in the next couple of months, I think it's supposed to be November, but don't hold me to that. You will see we want to build a new MRF, all right? One with higher technology, easier to sort stuff, less, better conditions for the employees as well, but will allow us to process more and possibly different stuff as well. So we want to build a new facility. That's going to cost a pretty penny, and we'll have to go out to bond, which will have to go out to vote. So like I said at the beginning, we are a municipal entity. We are overseen by a board of each town. So each town has to agree to our bond vote. So we're begging you to check that out and vote. Yeah, because if you've ever been on a tour of the MRF, we will be starting public tours again this spring. But if you've ever been on a tour, you can see we have run out of space a long time ago, and we are kind of piecemealing stuff together in hopes that in a couple of years we'll get a new one. All right. With that said, all right, what makes something recyclable? One, the technology to sort and to recycle the material must exist. Right now, we're probably about 2 decades, almost 3 decades behind the technology. We are hand sorting our recyclables, and it's not ideal. It's not efficient. It's not, the best conditions or best abilities for the use of the employees. So That is why that's why we went to new MRF, and it'll make the stream a lot cleaner as well and get us better dollars for our recycling. 2, there must be a buyer. So there must be somebody wanting the material in order for it to be recycled, or for us to collect it, there must be somebody to buy it. Recycling costs a lot of money. It costs about $3 million to run that facility every single year. So we need to make at least that in selling the materials to a recycler. And there has to be demand for the recycler, for the material. 3, the third driver is economics must work for the processors. So it must be economical for us and for the people doing the recycling. And then last but not least, and these are not the end all drivers, these are 4 of the probably many drivers, but last but not least, what we the people, myself, you included out there in webinar land, the demand for recycled products, what we have control over. If we the people are not buying stuff made out of recycled material, recycling isn't going to be the best that it can be. All right. So I have stuff made out of recycled products. We will touch down on that when we get to our 3R action plan. All right. Some major rules to recycling. These are my 4 major rules to recycling. It's not all of the rules to recycling, but they are major ones. First, is it paper or a single-use tub, can, jug, or bottle? If it's not any of that stuff, it doesn't belong in the blue bin. Is it clean? No food, no drink. All right. If you know what was in that container, that's too dirty. All right. Real people are sorting this. Let's be respectful of that. And the cleaner the stuff, the cleaner the materials, the more money people make, or the more money we make in order to run the facility. Again, we are not out to make $1. However, we are out to make enough money to cover the cost. Nothing smaller than a squirrel's head. I don't care what it's made out of. All right. And if you don't know how big a squirrel's head is, technically it's 2 inches by 2 inches is our rule. It has to be bigger than that. If you want to know why, either join Robin on our webinar, or you can sign up for a tour when we start those up in the spring again. But it cannot be. We do have stickers. If you want a sticker, I can give you a sticker and smack it on your blue bin. If that's like 2 inches by 2 inches, just to remind you. But even if it's paper, cannot go in there if it's that teeny tiny. And lastly, no flip-floppy plastic, like plastic bags or plastic wrap. I don't care if it has a little coat on it. I don't care if it says recycle me. It can be recycled. It just can't be recycled in the blue bin. So don't put it in the blue bin. It gets all twisted up in our equipment. All right. With that said, we'll move on to what we call special recycling. So this is all the things that can be recycled, but just not in your blue bin. At our drop-off centers, again, except for Burlington drop-off centers, so 5 of our 6 drop-off centers, we do accept special recycling for, say, electronics and fluorescent bulbs, scrap metal, batteries, all of that. There's oil. There's a whole list of it. So if you want a deeper dive, if you want to know more about special recycling, next month, March, we will be doing a 3-part series on special recycling. Ethan, my wingman tonight, will be kicking it off March 1st with a general overview of special recycling, followed by bulbs, batteries, building supplies, and then being wrapped up with that flip-floppy plastic. We do not accept plastic film or flip-floppy plastic at our drop-off centers, but it can be recycled at some of the grocery stores, have a take-back program. As well as outside of our facilities, you can recycle mattresses, you can recycle tennis balls. Again, if this piques your interest, tune into our 3-part series next month. It's going to happen on Tuesdays, I think at 1 o'clock, but I can't recall. I didn't write that down. But again, I will give you a link so you guys can go schedule that. I would recommend registering for them because we do record all of these webinars, and then you will have the link and you can just go watch it at your own leisure. All right, last but not least, material stream that we do manage is our hazardous waste. This isn't coming from labs or anything. This is household hazardous waste. Basically cleaning supplies, beauty supplies, photography supplies, that kind of stuff. All right, all goes to our environmental depot in South Burlington. Not sure what constitutes hazardous waste, read your labels, which you should be doing anyway. So if your label says danger, poison, caution, warning, those are the 4 buzzwords that indicate that it does need to, if you have leftovers, those leftovers do need to come to the environmental depot. But I challenge you to 1, use up what you have, all right? 2, don't buy it again, maybe go a little environmentally friendly route. And 3, if you have leftovers and you don't want to continue to use them, try to find somebody that will. Because again, as we are going to learn in this next half of this fabulous webinar, we're going to learn about reducing, reusing, and recycling. Reducing and reusing will always win over recycling, hands down. Recycling is a tool we have to be better planet protectors. However, reducing and reusing is better. So share your cleaning products with people who might use them. All right, so questions, Ethan?
We have a shy group tonight, Rhonda. We do
Oh
not have
my
any
goodness
questions.
gracious, or we're just doing an exceptional job of educating. I don't know.
You are covering all the bases.
All right, so don't be shy if you have questions. Please, I always like a good challenge. But we'll move on to the second half of reducing, reusing, and recycling. So how do you guys practice the 3 R's? I got some really fun answers on registration. So Kelly out there, she uses refillable coffee pods, reusable bags, and unpackaged produce. Man, it drives me a little bonkers when I go in and all the stuff is all wrapped up. I get why, but I'm like, whoo, my recycle Rhonda head just starts like exploding. Sarah, compost food scraps, fantastic. Rachel, no bottled drink. Nice job, Rachel, nice job. Sandy, stop buying so much stuff wrapped in plastic. Being aware, when you start raising awareness, and it takes a little time to change. Nobody's asking you to like jump in and be like, oh, I'm 0 waste today. But one small change. But once you start noticing it, you're just like, oh my gosh, it's everywhere. Trisha reuses plastic containers and collects shower water. I would presume like the gray water to like them water plants and stuff with, which reminded me that I save my pasta water, dump it into my watering can once it's cooled off, and give my inside plant, especially in the wintertime, a little drink, because there's carbohydrates, that starch in there, gives them a little boost of energy. So just some ways to reuse, reduce, and reuse. So thank you guys for sharing. But now we're going to get into the whole 3 R's section of this
Before you jump in,
webinar.
Rhonda, we have a good question.
Oh, yes.
So the question is about small items that can be confusing, like the foil on chocolates and other food.
Ooh.
Do you want to talk about that? Is that foil, and is that recyclable?
Okay, so it is foil. So if it's shiny and it's like malleable or bendable, it's foil enough anyway. Not that little like plastic thing like around. I'm thinking of peanut butter cups because I love them so. So not that little little waxy paper, but the actual metal. What I do is I have again, this will be addressed in the special recycling webinar, but I have like a metal container at home that I call scrap metal, just a little 2-gallon paint bucket that I rinsed out, and boom, I put all of my scrap metal, all my little bits of metal in there, bottle caps, broken paper clips, all of that stuff. And then I bring it to a drop-off center and just pop it into the scrap metal, and then it'll go to a recycler, be sorted out based on metal type, melted down, and reused to make, I don't know, skyscrapers, cars, trains, planes, automobiles. So good question. So they are too small to go into the recycle bin, but they can be recycled through that special recycling that we offer for drop-off at our drop-off centers, except for Burlington. Any other questions?
Nope. Commentary.
All right, we're gonna
hilarious.
pop it right into the 3 R's action plan. Again, we're not expecting you guys to be like, oh my God, we're gonna adopt all of this stuff. A lot of information, just some ideas, all right? Maybe one change for this year, another change for next year, because do know that you guys have the power to make change in our community, which is why I'm glad that you're here and joining us tonight, because then that means that there are more, more boots on the ground out there spreading the word. Do you know that your neighbors, as much as you may not want to hear this, are always watching you? louder than words. And you can make that change in your community, even in a small community, sub-community. I don't know what they call that, but your neighborhood, let's call it that way. All right, so we're gonna go into this reduce, reuse, and recycle. Do know that reducing is more important than reusing, which is more important than recycling. And recycling will never be nearly as important as reducing and reusing, but it is a tool that we have. All right. So practicing the 3 R's saves us not only on resources, but it saves money, stirs our creative juices, saves space in the landfill, saves those great natural resources, and cuts those greenhouse gases. All right, so do it for the children. All right, so we're gonna start with reducing. Again, these are just some ideas that we threw in here just to get your you set and possibly give you more ideas. So 1, borrow, don't buy. Check out a lending library. Fletcher Free Library in Burlington does have a lending library, or you can just set up your own lending program in your neighborhood. I see those like library ones popping up everywhere, and I see like the food pantry ones too, which are great. But you can set up any kind of lending program in your neighborhood or at work. So this is actually a picture of CSWD's new lending library. I think it just kicked off last week or the week before. I haven't checked it out yet, but there it is. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, but you can you can stock it, or you can go and shop for free and borrow stuff. Why buy when you can borrow? Buy in bulk. This is one of my favorites. Hit up the stores for big discounts in the bulk section, and then you bring your own containers. So you're reducing not only the waste that goes along with all of those containers that you buy, you're reducing the cost. So you're reducing the impact on your wallet, if you will. And I have done the math. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I've done the math on a lot of different things that I buy in bulk, and it always comes out to be cheaper buying in bulk. This is a picture of my pantry full of bulk stuff. Another fun thing too is if you have people visiting from out of town that have not ever experienced bulk shopping, they love it. My niece and nephew's still there in their 20s. They still talk about the time that we went to the grocery store and they got to fill up jars with special stuff. So it is a fun experience. You can make it fun. And that's what practicing the 3 R's should be all about. Funsies. All right, reuse. One of my favorites is this. Get creative, reuse the old gelato containers. I think they're, I don't know how you say the name, Talenti, I don't know, some sort of gelatos that are really delicious, by the way. But for organizing hardware, I have a friend that just bought a house and went down in her basement. Boom, there this was, already labeled. And I'm like, dude, it came with organized hardware. And what a great reuse. So the guy that lived there before just drilled the lid to the rafter and then just screw the container part into the lid, and boom, you've got out of the way hanging organization for your hardware or whatever. This could work for just about everything. And then on the right hand side, we've got compost collection. You don't need a fancy bin to collect your food scraps. My friends use a cut up juice jug. This is like one of those Simply juice jugs. They cut the top off. They put their food scraps in, and then they shove the cutoff top into the bottom to cut back on the smelliness while they, are cooking or while they're filling it up and taking it out to a larger bin for drop off. So this is my friend Jack in the Box demonstrating their reuse compost collection. Last but not least is recycle. Again, to remind you, important tool we have, but not the most important. So one of the most important things you can do in the world of recycling is buy stuff made out of recycled material. I've found that finding paper is the recycled paper, things made out of recycled paper, is the easiest transition. So toilet paper, paper towels, office paper, tissues, all that stuff is pretty readily available if you look for it for 100% recycled paper. Look on the cardboard boxes of like your snacks or cereal. See that the cardboard box is actually made out of recycled paper. If it's not, I want to choose new snacks. Just saying. Because again, we need to create that demand for recycled material in order for recycling to be at its best. And lastly, the recycle right. So make sure what you're putting in the bin actually belongs in the bin. If you ever have questions, we have a hotline that you can call. You can get in touch with Ethan or I, or even Robin. So any of the outreach team, any of the drop-off center operators, if you use our drop-off center, wealth of knowledge those folks are. So please reach out and ask the questions. It's okay. We learn by asking questions. So in this particular picture, the right-hand side of it is everything belongs in that bin. The left-hand side, just make sure there's no flip-floppy plastic. Single-use containers. That water bottle is not a single-use container. That's a reusable. Doesn't belong in the blue bin. Light bulbs, milk cartons, and batteries. And again, we have that recycling webinar on the 28th of February. So if you want to learn more about it, hop in with Robin there. Now is the time, guys, to get to work. Just a few suggestions. Again, put it into the chat or the Q&A, some ideas that you guys have, but by use, not new. Check out Restore, Resource, Goodwill. There's probably more, but those were the top 3 that I could think of while I was making this. I have a friend of mine, actually, she is the assistant manager of compost, Kimmy. She has the never bought a new crock pot. She goes to one of these stores or flea market or yard sales, and she gets like $5 crock pot. The one she has now, gosh, it's probably like 6 years old. So $5, it's been lasting for 6 years. It's just as an example. Borrow, don't buy. This is something that I got into recently too. I am obsessed with cooking magazines, very much so. I used to have like 4 subscriptions, but now I share those subscriptions actually with people, with other people that share my my desire for cooking magazines. So 3 of us have, there's 3 of us on this, and we each have a subscription to a different type of cooking magazine, and then we just kind of share all of the different magazines. So one way that you can reduce it down. But this can go for clothes, kitchen gadgets, games, you name it. And again, you can set up your own lending program. Reduce your junk mail. You'll get these links into your follow-up email. The junk mail, credit card offers, and unwanted catalogs. It works pretty well. Not 100%, but something's better than nothing. And then finally, if you've got an old mattress that just is not usable, can't give it away, obviously you want to reuse it before, but if it's not reusable, you can take it down to Sleepwell Recycling in Burlington. Those boys will rip it up and they will recycle as much as they can. I want to say up to 95% of the mattresses and box springs are recyclable, but don't quote me on that because I'm not up to date. I think Ethan will be covering mattress recycling in the, at least an overview of it, in the first general special recycling on March 1st. Am I correct, Ethan?
You are correct. We're going to cover
dig
mattress
dog
recycling.
dig.
I want to just mention somebody has contributed the suggestion of bringing, Tupperware or reusable containers like that to restaurants to have those ready for leftovers, and that is a great practice, and that is the way to respond to our compostables change as well. You don't need compostable foodware if you take your stuff out in reusable containers.
That is brilliant. And again, yeah, I mean, I know that people are probably out there. Questions, comments, I'm going to give you, here's our contact. Again, it'll be in the follow-up email as well. So you don't have to like take it all down now, but I am going to stop sharing the screen. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. So now I forgot what I was going to say about carry out reusable. Anyway, I forgot what I was saying there. Just goes right like that. But any other questions or comments out there? Any lingering questions? Something that needs to be answered? We do have about 20 minutes left. We could skip out early. That's fine too. But I don't want to leave anybody unanswered. I don't leave any.
Well, we don't want to leave the webinar with this question because the answer is not ideal. But what can be done with K-cups? Is the question. One thing you can do with K-cups is that they have the reusable pods, so you can buy regular coffee grounds and put them into the reusable pod, and that's a good way to go. somebody contributes stop using them as an answer, and that's really the most sustainable answer for the single-use K-cups is to
Yeah,
not
'cause-
avoid them.
Yeah, I think Kelly has the refillable coffee pods, and I don't know how any of that works, but you could do it that way, or French press works great. The only thing you're wasting there is your coffee grounds. But yeah, the K-cups, they are a problem, and they tend to escape into the environment a lot too, because I find them all the time in my driveway, and pick them up a lot. So I do think that they're not, I don't know. I think there are better ways to making coffee. I understand the convenience, and sometimes we just pick we pick the lane that we want to pick to be in. Granola bars are my downfall. I like them. I can't make them, and Ethan's getting me a recipe from his mama that hopefully I'll be able to make my own. But
I'm gonna go back to K-cups for a second, though. Just to mention that if you can't avoid them, there is the opportunity to dismantle them. The cup is not recyclable, period, because it's too small. But the coffee grounds can still be composted. So if you have to use K-cups, or you're in an office where that's what's being used, you can still compost your coffee grounds that way.
Ooh, I like that. I just saw some things in the chat here. Hang on.
There are some things in the chat, exactly,
Holy
including
bananas,
want to know
Sandy,
about junk mail.
Yeah, so Sandy had a great idea that consider putting up an idea a week on Front Porch Forum to help educate everyone, like take metal caps off glass bottles and only put the glass in the blue bin. Fantastic. So I don't know if you're like directing that at us, that we should be doing that, or you're suggesting it to the greater community, since this is a community effort. But that would be awesome. Unfortunately, like CSWD, I think only gets like 2 posts on Front Porch Forums a month, but on our own local ones, yeah, man, let's take that into it. So there was could you talk more about how to stop junk mail? I will give you that link to stopping junk mail. I think it works pretty darn well. I just get back in once a year. I have like a little reminder in my calendar to get back in and just kind of renew it. But it does seem to work pretty well. I get no credit card stuff and rarely any junk mail. Sometimes it's like stuff that I bought before, but that they sent me like some sort of reminder or whatever. But that link does work pretty well. Because if we don't accept it, it doesn't come in, and we don't have to deal with it. We don't have to manage it. CSWD doesn't have to manage it. But it's better for the environment because we're reducing the amount of stuff we have to manage.
Someone's asking about coffee grounds being compostable, and they are certainly compostable. I'm mentioning answering some of these questions about snack wrappers, and just their snack wrappers are usually trash.
Yeah, there are programs out there that accept, like TerraCycle is a company that does accept different things. I'm in the granola wrapper brigade. I waited 4 months to get into that though, where you can like stuff your wrappers into a box, and once a year I ship them off for recycling. It's usually downcycling into something different. I don't know exactly what they do with them, to be honest with you, but they have a lot of different programs. I know that chip bags, I want to say, snack wrappers at REI. So that was in a special recycling webinar that we did as well. I think they have a collection at the REI in Williston for snack
They do.
wrappers.
It's still a TerraCycle program. It's still the same program, right. But that is a way to consolidate them, and so they're not being shipped back like 5 at a time. So they're bigger quantities. It's good.
Ooh, Laura says buying shampoo as a bar now, and also bar soap to reduce use of single-use plastics. Nice, Laura. I just bought a shampoo bar thing. I loved it. I used it yesterday for the first time ever. It was fantastic, but we'll see how that all pans out. But yeah, it came wrapped in paper. I can plant the paper and grow some plants, apparently. Got seeds in the paper. And now there's like no waste at all to it, none whatsoever. So I was pretty excited about that myself. Oh, Subaru does have a TerraCycle program, Maria. Yeah, they do. And I don't remember what they accept in that program, but so I would check with Subaru. Again, these are all outside CSWD. We don't have control over them, but definitely check, and definitely sharing those out is fantastic. Ooh, thank you, Beth, for putting in CSWD's contact stuff, social media, chip bags and snack wrappers. Fantastic, Maria, thanks. So you can take your chip bags and snack wrappers to REI or Subaru and get them recycled through TerraCycle. I was hoping you folks
are looking to us to post the, but I think it does raise the point that part of the way that we hope that the impacts of these webinars be felt is that you will educate your friends and neighbors and spread the word. We are not going to reach everybody, and so we appreciate everything you do to spread the message.
As I tell my little Kit Kats that I teach, like, you are now certified planet protectors. So you guys get to go out and fight the fight as well. And we do, like Ethan said, we do count on people to spread the word. And we can't get everywhere, unfortunately. But yeah, but we will, we do have our social media outlets, so we can definitely use those better. Ethan and I are learning slowly how to up our social media game. So we will work on that. And I think that is a brilliant idea. Push the tours coming up this spring. Whoa, it blew her mind, Sanji. Well, I hope it blew your mind in a good way, and not a bad way. But yeah, the tours are usually popular. So we will again be offering those this spring through late fall is usually what we do. We have to go with the weather. And again, because of our MRF and it's so small, we actually had to kind of redo things how we do it. And and with COVID and all of that, but we're able to do the tours. So stay tuned for that. Not exactly sure when those will be starting.
Question about the Waste Warrior program. And the Waste Warrior program has not been super active during COVID because there haven't been a lot of events, and it's an events-oriented program where volunteers help people know where their stuff should go in terms of trash, recycling, compost, and educate folks on how to dispose of their items.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure where that program stands either. So stay tuned. I think we might be having more information in the spring on that program as well. But it is a fantastic program. They're quite helpful. Catherine, you are super welcome. Oh, we'll work on how to post on Front Porch Forum. Thanks, Catherine. That's awesome sauce. Kelly says to check out all the CSWD webinars on YouTube. Yes, the CSWD does have a YouTube channel. We do post all of the webinars. This one will be posted as well eventually, and you will, by Thursday, you will get a link to that too if you want to review any information or you just couldn't get enough of Ethan and I. So you can like hang out with us virtually if you'd prefer. Maybe you're really bored. I don't know. They're an incredible wealth of information. Fantastic. Thanks, Kelly. Any other questions, comments? All right.
It's very quiet out there. Appreciate your tuning in though, folks.
Just a reminder, we do have webinars, a series for special recycling coming up in March. Again, I will send you a link to where you can sign up for all those webinars. Recycling Right will be happening on February 28th. Have a great night. Thank you guys for tuning in. You've been awesome in sharing your 3 R's action. I hope that you do take one extra action away tonight and get out there and be the best planet protectors you can be. And together we will be able to green up Vermont and our Earth. So thank you guys. Thank you, Ethan. Rhonda, as always. Take it easy, y'all.